Hello, my name is Ntumfoyn Herbert. To discuss or not to discuss the elections that have just taken place in neighboring Republic of Cameroon. Some of you have said it. Ambazonians should not be bothered with whatever is unfolding there. That is both true and false. Even if those elections do not concern Ambazonia, they matter for some pertinent reasons. We owe ourselves the sacred duty of keeping an eye on our enemies and on every move they make. At the same time, those elections do not matter if they constitute a distraction from our lone goal of restoring our independence and achieving international sovereignty for our homeland. But given the enormity of the crimes committed by the Biya regime in Ambazonia, every one of us must be working around the clock to ensure that the sun sets on the Biya regime. To that effect, the enemies of Biya and his regime are our friends. It is in our best interest to team up with anyone who can help round up Biya and his regime and bring all of them to justice, preferably before the International Criminal Court, to face charges for the atrocity crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of genocide that they are perpetrating in Ambazonia. That is why I sent out a message yesterday in French, targeting citizens of neighboring Republic of Cameroon, in which I invited them to defend their vote and to be prepared to defend it with their lives. I invited them to be inspired by the brave freedom fighters of Ambazonia. Citizens of colonial Cameroon have done their part. They have voted to fire Mr. Biya from power and to retire his entire tribal regime to jail. Sadly, given the extent to which the Biya regime has centralized power and has armed regime supporters, some of whom are promising death to certain ethnic groups should they threaten their stranglehold on power, the world needs to act now. The world cannot be a spectator in this. Every Western embassy in Yaoundé has by now reported back to their home country about the trouncing that Mr. Biya suffered at the ballot box. It is time for President Trump and President Macron to do what their predecessors did under similar circumstances in more than one African country. They must be prepared to stage a repeat of the military operation which dragged President Laurent Gbagbo out of power in Cote d'Ivoire, the same operation led by the ECOMOG that drove Yahya Jammeh out of power in Banjul in the Gambia. Mr. Biya and his regime need to be told in no uncertain terms right now that they lost the ballot and that they should be prepared to ensure peaceful transfer of power. I am not making this advocacy because I think the Ambazonia question will be solved from Yaoundé or by Yaoundé. No, not at all. The sovereign people of Ambazonia have already decreed a solution for themselves. It is for the world to follow what we want for ourselves, not for the world to think and dictate what is right for us, much less for colonial Cameroon to do so. Professor Kamto, or whoever else the French accept to reign in their overseas French territory, must hear this directly from us. They must hear that we are watching their every move. To that extent, I must say that Professor Kamto's video message being disseminated on social media at this moment speaks volumes. When in my message in French yesterday, I called on Professor Kamto to immediately call for the withdrawal of Cameroon's colonial forces from Ambazonia, as well as to recall colonial administrators, I had not yet watched that video, which is why I was still inviting Professor Kamto to call for the deployment of a peacekeeping force and to become, once he takes the oath of office, the first African president to recognize Ambazonia. After watching that video, and knowing what I know now from watching it, I would like to remind Professor Kamto that Ambazonia did not vote in his country's election, and that Ambazonians did not vote for him. Fully aware that his country had no authority over ours, he did not campaign in Ambazonia, and we appreciate that. He is a jurist and should know that he therefore has no legitimacy anywhere in Ambazonia. Our people have not been fighting for restoration of independence for this long because they wanted a leader from the colonizing nation who could address our people in English, or because they wanted a leader who would be willing to visit our homeland, or one who would embrace us more closely in what they consider their one and indivisible Cameroonian family. Whatever fake union ever existed between our two countries was cut off by our sovereign people on the 22nd of September and on the 1st of October 2017. Ambazonians need to care about what is unfolding or may unfold in colonial Cameroon because someone in the outgoing or in the incoming regime, someone in France is working very hard right now to prescribe a cure for our people that may be worse than the disease. For example, Professor Kamto declared himself opposed to what he calls secession in that video, a reference no doubt to Ambazonia's quest for international sovereignty. For going before an African court in the Gambia and losing the case he pleaded on behalf of colonial Cameroun against our people, Professor Kamto should be better informed than the average colonialist in his incoming administration of the exact rights of the people of Ambazonia. The mere fact that Professor Kamto took that position in that video, even before he had expressed any outrage for the atrocity, crimes, and genocide unfolding in Ambazonia, should be considered his own declaration of war against Ambazonia. It does not help matters when he suggests in that message that somehow his regime will not only rebuild the villages that were razed by Mr. Biya in his scorched earth policy, but that his administration will somehow compensate also for lives lost. How much money does Professor Kamto's regime think a human life is worth? I mean, if Ambazonia were to seek reparations, they will not be on the terms of the colonizer. Professor Kamto is most welcome to wage his own war against Ambazonia if he thinks he can ever resubmit our people to the authority of colonial Yaoundé. But before he wages that war, he should take whatever time is needed to be briefed on how well Mr. Biya has done with his own war. As Honorable Joseph Wibao predicted already, if they like, they should add on the French and the Chinese armies to theirs. Our people will never go back to the slave house in Yaoundé. As much as we hold our noses, Ambazonians should please watch and follow carefully whatever is happening in next-door Cameroun. We must also continue to watch France and the military in neighboring Cameroun and stand ready to fight against anything that the colonialists throw at us, including curfews, state of emergencies, even a military takeover. Sticking together, all 8 million of us in garrison duty until Mother Ambazonia is free. For our people will only live free or die. Aluta.